Hey everybody, welcome to Boardgame Heaven. My name is Raymond, and in this video I'm going to take a look at Lucktails by Peter Jurgensen, published by Loosey Goosey, who were kind enough to give me a copy to review. This is a bidding game for 3 to 5 players, which plays in about 20 minutes for ages 10 and up. And before I open up the box and set up a game, explain the rules and share my thoughts, I'd like to ask you to please hit that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed already, that is very much appreciated. And if you'd like to support what I do, I also have a Patreon page. There's a link in the description below, and you can support for as little as just €1 per month or more. And in return, you will get your name in the credits of my videos, early access, and access to some Patreon exclusive videos as well. All right, let's open up the box and get started. All right, let's take a look at the box first. Lucktails has a diving duck or penguin or something on the cover. Pretty funny illustration there. Lucktails looks very colorful. Game by Peter Jurgensen, published by Loosey Goosey. And on the back, similar as all the Loosey Goosey boxes, there is a bit of a text in English and German. The components are listed here, and it's a game for 3 to 5 players, which plays in about 20 minutes for ages 10 and up. All right, let's open that up. All right, so inside the box, we have, of course, the rules leaflets. We have one in English right here, double-sided. And we have another one in German. We have a bunch of wooden bits. So we've got a bag with wooden bits. Let's have a look at that. We have these bigger wooden cylinders, unpainted. There's a bunch of those. We have these painted black small wooden cylinders. There's a whole bunch of those. And we have these goosebumps, the ducktails, whatever you want to call them, a little foot there. So yeah, we have a bunch of those as well, and we have some cards. Let me open those up. So these are the cards. We have these round pink and purple cards, and they have different values on them. There's a duck that's diving for a 1, 2 ones, 3 ones, 4 ones, a 5, 6. Here's its butt. And then we have an empty one, it's just white. We have this, probably some setup cards, this, and this. All right, those are the cards. Let's set up a game. To set up a game of Lucktails, put the Victory Pawned card in the middle of the table, as well as all the Victory Point tokens. These are worth 1 point, these are worth 5 points. Decide on the starting player, and that starting player takes all these 7 Lucktail tokens. Give every player one of these baiting reminders. The blank card isn't used, it's basically a spare card should you damage or lose one of the other cards. Give the 8 point cards, the victory point cards, which all have this duck on them, and the Lucktails card, and give those to the starting player, who gives those cards a shuffle, and now you're ready to play. During a game of Lucktails, every round, each player will get dealt one of these cards face down, but you're not allowed to look at them. You'll have to gamble whether you want to keep the card that you've been dealt and get the points on it, or exchange it with a face down card in the middle of the table, so it's a bit of a press your luck game. There's also bidding in the game, which they call baiting, and I will explain exactly how that works in a bit. So the victory point cards come in a number of values. You have 2 cards with a value of 1, there's a 2, 3, 4, 5, and a 6 value, and the Lucktails card. So the starting player takes all of those cards and gives them a shuffle, and then deals 1 card face down to every player. So if this was a 4-player game, you would randomly deal 1 card face down to all 4 players. And then you deal 2 victory point cards to the middle of the table face down. If there are any remaining cards, you deal those face up to the middle of the table as well. The starting player, who has these Lucktail tokens, is in charge of keeping track of which cards are already known and out of the game. So in this case, these two cards are out of the game, and the starting player will place a Lucktails token on the 1 and 2 values in the pond. And then every time a card gets revealed, then that player has a responsibility of taking one of those Lucktail tokens and putting it on the value that was revealed. Next, every player takes a peek at the card from their right neighbor. So that would mean you pass your cards to the left. So I would have, if this was me, then I would take a look at this player's card. And remember, that is the 6. Don't say that out loud, of course. And the player to my left would take a look at my card, etc. So now you know what your right neighbor has, but you don't know what you have. And of course, you already know what's out of the game. Now, this is a game that has a little bit of bluffing, so you are allowed to say what you saw or to lie about it. So you could say, oh, you got a good card there, or you could just say, well, that's just the 1. I guess you're unlucky. You're basically trying to give your neighbor a bad impression of what they have, hoping that if it was a good card, that they will exchange it with one of the cards in the middle of the table, so that later you can exchange your card for that card. Now, when all of that has been done, then the game proper starts and you start bidding, which they call baiting in this game. And of course, at the start of the game, there is no ongoing baiting yet. So whenever there is no ongoing baiting, you have two options. Either you announce the first bait, which can be a value of 1 or 2, and then the next player takes their turn. And at that point, baiting is going on. So the next player's turn has 3 options. But if no baiting is going on yet, you can also opt out of baiting. And I'll explain that in a bit, because that is the same thing that can also happen when baiting is going on. So if the first player starts a bait with a value of, let's say, 2, then baiting is started, and the next player has 3 options, one of which can always be taken. That is opting out of baiting. When you do, you can choose to switch out your victory points card with one of the victory points cards that are still blind on the table. If there are any bonus points on that card, and explain how that can happen in a bit, then you also take those points along with the card. So let's say that's the case, and I choose for this card, I'm opting out, I'm dropping out of the game, I'm not taking a bait. Then I will exchange my card with that card. I take that victory point that possibly is on the card, and I flip it over and I see what I get. If it's points, I simply get the number of points that are on the card from the stash. And if it's the Lucktail, I take enough victory points from the general supply so that my total amount of victory points match the total victory points of the current leader. So as I drew this very early on in the game, there are no leaders at this point. I'm actually the leader because I got this point, so I don't get any extra points. But if at this point in the game, somebody, for example, had 5 victory points, I could take 4 more, or I could just put that one back and also take 5 victory points. Had I not opted to exchange my card with this one, I would have simply turned over my own card and taken those victory points. So in this case, I had 5, so I could take the 5 right here. This is also an indication of the disc because it's the same color and the same size. And now I have 5 victory points. And of course, I mustn't forget, being the starting player, to also cover up the 5 here in the victory point pond with a Lucktail. Now, after somebody drops out of the baiting process, then baiting resets. And then the next player can start baiting again with 1 or 2 points. So what exactly does that mean, this baiting? So you have this card which has these numbers on them, and this is basically the bait, the current bid that is being placed by people. And you don't pay it with points, it's just a virtual number. It's something imaginary, and they can be points if you take the bait, but they're not the number of points that you call. So the bait is on the left, and the points they are worth is on the right here. So for example, if baiting is currently 1 or 2 and you take the bait, then you take 1 victory point. If the bid is 3 to 5, that's worth 2 victory points, and 6 to 9 is worth 3. If bidding at some point, so people raise their bids, which is the second option you can take when bidding. So first one was opting out. Second one is raising the bid, either again by 1 or 2. So at some point bidding might go beyond 9. When that happens, you get into this black field over here. So from 10 to 13 points, it's worth 4 points. Plus, once you reach this half of the bidding disc, this card, you place 1 victory point on one of the upside down cards. So that is when this would happen. 14 to 16 points is worth 5 points, and 17 plus is worth 6 points. And if a player decides to take the current bait, then they don't flip over their card, or at least they don't get the victory points from that card. So let's say that this player decides not to opt out and either take their own card or one of these cards by exchanging it, but they take the bait, and the bait is currently 10, for example, then they would simply get 4 victory points, and that's it. They do reveal their card just to show that that card is out, and then again the player with the Lucktails places a Lucktail on that card, indicating that these are the only ones still left in the game. And that is actually the third option you can take, simply taking the bait. So in a nutshell, if there's no ongoing baiting yet, you can either opt out, you can always do that, you opt out, and that's when you either take your own card or you switch it out with one of the cards on the table with possible victory points on them, and you flip over that card and that's the score you get, and baiting resets. Or when no baiting is ongoing yet, so after a reset or at the start of a round, you can just start bidding with 1 or 2 points. And then next, when baiting is already going on, you can either raise the current bid by +1 or +2. You can again opt out, or you can take the bait, meaning the corresponding number of victory points that corresponds to the current bid. My game came with a handy reference card, so that's this one here. I don't know if you can find it online. You probably can if you go to the Loosey Goosey website. That is a very handy reference that basically tells you everything that can happen during a round. Now, of course, if you are the very last player left in a round, you cannot bait any longer. You can either switch out the victory point card in front of you with the either 2 that are face down in the middle of the table if you want to, or you just reveal the card that you got dealt, because you cannot take any bait, because basically the player before you was the last one to either take the bait or opt out. And then baiting resets, so if you're the last player, all that you can do is either take your card or exchange it. Then that round ends, and the left neighbor to the current starting player gets all the Lucktails and all the point cards. They shuffle the cards and a new round begins. As soon as at least one player has collected at least 15 victory points total at the end of a round, then the game ends. If you were the only player who has collected 15 or more victory points total at the end of a round, then you win. If you are not the only player, whoever has the most total victory points wins the game. If there is a tie for first place, you keep on playing additional rounds until you have a single clear winner. And everybody participates in those extra rounds, not only the tied players. Those are all the rules on how to play Lucktails. Let's go to my final thoughts. So my final thoughts on Lucktails by Loosey Goosey. Let's start with the components. So the components you get are good. You get these round cards, which are of a decent quality. They have a linen finish and they are printed very clearly. There's not a whole bunch of them. That's just the cards you need. One of these reference cards for every player, and the 8 point cards, the victory point cards, and the victory pawn card, which keeps track of which cards were already revealed and are out of the game. And then you have these wooden discs. You have the small black ones, which are 1 point each, and the bigger white ones, which are 5 points each. And they look fine. They are, you know, easy to tell apart, and there's enough of them for the game. So all of that is fine. I do like these little duck butts, I guess they are, that are diving down into the water. The box, like with many Loosey Goosey games, is a lot bigger than it needs to be, because again, you get all of this space for just a small pack of cards that are round and a bunch of tokens that could have easily fit in a regular, like, playing card sized box, like Oink games often make. And I kind of wish they did, because then it would be so much easier to put in your pocket and to bring this along and play this anywhere you want. Because right now the box is pretty big for what it is, and it takes more space on your shelf than needed. The artwork is, like, again, with many Loosey Goosey games, quite minimalistic. I do enjoy minimalistic games, like, again, another comparison with Oink games. They do that a lot as well, or Helvetique also have small boxes with minimalistic art, and I do enjoy that. It looks fun, and they also have these, you know, often have these quirky themes. In this case, with these ducks diving down into the water. You see their necks here, and that's just, you know, fun and quirky. So art-wise, I think it's pretty good. Thematically, I don't know. This game has a theme with ducks diving into the water for food, I guess. And those are the points you get. I just don't know exactly what these are supposed to represent. Breadcrumbs, maybe? I have no idea. And so thematically, this could have been anything, really. The theme has nothing to do with the gameplay, in my opinion. It's silly, it's funny, but I don't really see the connection, to be honest. So could have been anything. No points extra for theme, I'm afraid. The gameplay then is very straightforward, very simple to teach, very quick to learn. All you do is just basically follow that chart. So you have a card, you don't know what it is, but you do know your neighbor's card. So you might know, hey, is that a good card or is that a bad card? You might bluff, you might lie about that card. That's something you can do. You can tell them they have a bad card, but they might not believe you. And you want to try and find out where good cards are with a lot of points, and then try to exchange them. Or if you think, well, I can't possibly get any good points, my card, I don't know what my card is, but a few of the bit better cards were maybe already out of the game, so chances are that you're stuck with a lower value card, and then you might just want to go for the bid, for the current bid. And of course you have to keep that in mind. As soon as certain good cards are out, you don't want to bid too high, because then other players have an opportunity to take that bid and score a lot of points, while if they have to opt out of the game and just take their card, that might be a lot lower. And of course, you know what your neighbor has. So yeah, it's a bit of push your luck again. I do like the bidding mechanism, but in the end, this is a very light bidding game, and yeah, you just have to take some chances. Again, the chart is very quick and easy to follow. You either bid or raise the bid with 1 or 2 points, or you take the bid and score the points that are listed on this card, or you opt out and you take your chances with your card, or you swap it out with another card, and maybe you know what the other cards are, and that might give you an advantage. That's it. It's a quick, I think, a fun little filler game. Replayability is okay. I mean, you shuffle the cards, you get different cards every time, but the game stays the same. It'll play slightly differently, of course, because you never know what you get, and you never know what other people are going to bid, but the basis of the game is always the same. So this will stay replayable for as long as you like playing it, really. Language dependency. As with many games that Loosey Goosey make, this game is fully language independent, which I think is excellent. You only get the rules in this case, English and German. There are probably other translations to be found online. But once you know the rules, and they are very simple, they're very easy to teach in any language, of course. So, you know, you can just bring this along, play this anywhere you want as a quick little filler, and that is a lot of fun, especially when it's language independent. So that is excellent. In the end, I do like the game. I don't think it's their best game in the line from Loosey Goosey Games, but it was enjoyable. So I hope that was informative. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. That is greatly appreciated. And please also check out my Patreon page by clicking the link in the description below or the icon at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Board Game Heaven.